Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to my channel. I'm Fielding Shredder. You are probably here because of HYPERDRIVE. You may have known me from the local drifting scene here in Texas with Lone Star Drift or Rally Ready or some of the other fun things I've done, but I'm sure you're here from the show HYPERDRIVE, which just came out on Netflix. First thing I want to say is thank you so much. The outpouring of all the fans and all the comments and all the messages I've been getting have been incredible. You guys have been so nice. As you could tell, I really put my heart and soul on the line in that show. I gave it all I had, and I'm really glad that it came through so well, and it's being so well received. So again, thank you so much, all of the new people that are now part of my world. I love you guys so much. You're the best. So this is going to be our top 10 HYPERDRIVE questions answered video. This is going to be the first video I do on a multitude of videos talking about HYPERDRIVE, my experience with it, some behind the scenes stuff, some pre and post preparation videos, as well as just kind of all the questions you might have. So we're going to jump right into it. First thing I want to say is that if you guys know me on a personal level, you know things are getting kind of wild right now, and I like to keep my own private life still private. So if you have my phone number, my personal phone number, if you know where my parents live, if you know where my girlfriend goes to school, whatever, please keep that to yourself. I'd like to have some form of, my own privacy still left intact. But other than that, if you guys want to show some love and some support, please check out my website. It's fieldingshredder.com. You can get one of these sweet shirts, which is pretty cool. It's got me on the back. I'm going to be coming out with some new merch and stuff too. There's stickers, there's keychains, there's all kinds of stuff. So yeah, would love your support there, and you can have a little piece of me. All right, so the first question I'm going to answer is where, when, and how long was shooting HYPERDRIVE? So HYPERDRIVE happened exactly a year ago. It was shot in Rochester, New York at the Kodak film processing plant. So what Netflix did is they were looking for something that was really cool and industrial and had some city streets that we could slide through that they could build a elaborate set out of. So they rented out I believe about 3 miles square of this functioning city, and that turned into our set, which was just nothing short of incredible. I mean, the crew was over 300 people that were there every single night, making sure the lighting and the camera and the sound and security and the cast and the food and everything else that goes into a production like this were there, we're on point, we're hitting their marks, and that's something that I've never really experienced. So that was wild. And it was shot for a 3-week period is when we were there. I know that they were building the set for many months previously to that. And the actual shooting process took about 2 weeks, about 13, 14 days. So we were there a total of 3 weeks. It was me and my spotter, Mike Van Schellenbeck. So thank you, Mike, shout out to you. He saved my ass and was there every step of the way, helping me fix my car and helping me keep my cool and helping, assist with all of the things that went behind this type of production. So yeah, 3 weeks long. We shot for 2. The first week was kind of just like taking photos, meeting everybody, fixing the cars, going through tech, making sure that everything looked good. Some cars needed to be wrapped, some cars needed a new seat and harnesses, some cars needed a full roll cage put in. My car actually was good to go as it was. I have been competing in my car at Lone Star Drift for many years, and other fun drift events throughout the country where a roll cage, a fire suppression, a good seat, harness, steering wheel, all that stuff is required. So that was all good on my car. So the next question I want to jump into is how did I get picked? Now I'm going to do a long form version of this that will really help you guys figure out how to find your niche in the motorsport world if that's what you want, or just in life, if you're looking for something that you really want to achieve, a goal that you want to set and conquer, then this was my goal. I wanted to be on something spectacular, something that would showcase my talents, something that I could connect with many more people than my current demographic of just a couple thousand friends on Instagram. And this was my big, huge Super Bowl, I like to call it. So the way I got picked was pretty easy, honestly. It was just simply like the movie Yes Man. I just yes manned my way all the way to the top. I know that they started with probably tens of thousands of applicants throughout the entire world. They put out a just very blatant casting call that said, hey, we're looking for drivers that want to be on a TV show. Send me your info. So, I filled out a basic application, my name, my car, my age, my location, a couple photos, and that was that. And then I had to follow up on that, and I followed up on it, and as they started asking more and more questions about are you willing to sacrifice your car? Are you willing to take off work for 3 weeks? Are you willing to do this without any money? Then, as I said yes to every question, they whittled it down until they finally chose me. Just a interesting fact, I didn't know I was going to be on the show until 8 days before we had to leave for New York. So that was very challenging for me to, organize everything, tell my work I'm leaving, tell my girlfriend bye, and then fix my car as best I could, and get to New York. So again, I'll do a more in-depth video on that, but basically, I was the guy among the other 28 drivers that was willing to do whatever it took to get myself and my car to this experience. Incredible, it really was, just incredible. So, the next biggest question that's always asked is there any prize money or were you paid? The answer is no. This was entirely a passion project for me and every other driver on the series. Now, they did cover our travel expenses to and from New York, so they covered my gas money. They did pay for the food while we were there, and they put us up in a hotel. So that was the extent of our compensation. We didn't get a day rate, we didn't get a SAG card, we didn't get any sort of compensation for lost wages or paid for any damages on our car. We didn't get paid to modify our car. Some of the cars were modified by the production team. So some of the cars, like Kisa's, was wrapped on site. Beautiful wrap job they did for her. Some of the other cars needed a roll cage or safety equipment, which I mentioned, and those were provided by the Netflix crew. But we didn't actually get any compensation. We didn't get any dollars to spend on stuff we wanted. So no prize money. And I think that was a big deciding factor for a lot of people. You may be watching this now and say, man, I had a chance to be on HYPERDRIVE. Well, the answer to that question had to be, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, including not take any amount of money. So definitely wish I would have gotten paid for the project, but I think, they were like, we're gonna give you 150 million exposure bucks. And I'm like, okay, cool, can I spend those on parts for my car? And the answer is, of course, no. Exposure bucks is just a joke that says you're not getting paid, but a lot of eyes will be able to watch you and see you and hopefully fall in love with you. So any future business that comes from this, I'm really looking forward to. I haven't gotten any, major sponsorship proposals or anything towards my program yet, but that is the goal, that I can get some support for my continued career and continued racing dreams. Next question I've gotten so many times is, will there be a season 2? So this is actually a really important question, and it's up to you guys. So the season 2, I've been told by the Netflix executives, is something that can happen. They would love for it to happen, but it all depends on the response to season 1. So what you have to do is share it, talk about it, post about it, tell your friends to watch it, and the more people that watch it, the more eyes that see this, and the more people that love HYPERDRIVE, the more of a chance we'll have of a season 2, 3, 4, and beyond. I don't know if I'll be on season 2. I sure hope so. It would be awesome if I could, but they have not any, plans or concrete plans on location or set design or obstacles or driver list or anything like that. It's all still kind of up in the air as the season 1 kind of develops and people start to watch it. So yeah, do your part, share it, and tell people about it, and talk about how much you love it. All right, next question is, what was the hardest challenge? This is a big one. I have about 10 years of driving history or background to my name, and so I've been, sliding my car around for a long time, trying to get into trouble and do some dumb stuff. And I've developed a skill set that is pretty good at drifting specifically. I'm decent at some rally stuff. I can put my car and do some car control pretty well, but there are a lot of challenges that I have never tried before or never done. And one of them was the water challenges. So driving through the water, is not a big deal, but the problem really arises when all that water went into the engine bay and mainly fogged up my windscreen. So for a lot of those challenges that happened right after the walk on water, I was completely blind. And the show did a decent job of showing that, but really not as good as it was for me. I was legitimately blinded for a full 30 plus seconds, where I was having to attack the targets just based on if I could look out my side view window, or if I could just kind of see a blob of red light and then just try and go for it. So I missed a couple targets, and then you saw I had some engine problems after the first race where I lost actually 2 coil packs from my engine. So I was running on 4 cylinders for the last half of that race. So anyway, yeah, that, but I think honestly the hardest challenge for me, the most frustrating, was that stupid leveler. Oh my God, I hate that leveler. That thing was so hard. And what you don't know from the show is the leveling balance of that changed every single episode. So the stunt coordinator, ACP, thought it would be funny if he moved the ballast weight around and didn't tell us about it. So you would drive up, the first episode you saw, we just drove to the end and slammed it down. Well, after that, we had to then begin to level or balance that bridge to where it stayed perfectly level for about 10 seconds, and then you were allowed to pass. Well, both that needle margin got tighter and the weight balance changed on the leveler itself. So he had a ballast weight that he would move to one end or the other or halfway down, and that would make balancing it with your car very, very challenging. Another part that I know Mike, my buddy who was my spotter, really was frustrated about is the video that he was watching had a slight delay from what I was actually doing live. So it was very challenging for him to be able to tell me when to go forward and back and stop and stuff like that. And I really had to feel it out myself, which I've never really done anything like that, honestly. And I haven't been on teeter-totter since I was a kid. So the whole feeling of that was very, very difficult after just coming with wet tires, going up this metal corrugated bridge, where you can't really see much anyway, and having to get the car forward to reverse and find that balance. It was tough. That was my personal hardest challenge from the show. Quite a few other challenges that were hard, but that was the hardest for sure. That brings us up to our next point. And this is something that I personally want to talk about. It's, did we get any practice? That is a huge, huge setback to this show that was extremely difficult. Probably the hardest thing is we got no practice on course. And if you have been in motorsports or no motorsports background, every single form of motorsport in the history of motorsport has some form of practice. Okay, NASCAR goes out and practice. IndyCar, Formula One car, they have multiple practice sessions. Drifting, pro drifting has practice sessions. Amateur drifting has practice. Everything, even rally, which doesn't really technically have a full practice high-speed section, they still have what's called recce, which is reconnaissance. So they get to go and drive through the course, make notes, and kind of feel out what it's like. We were given the opportunity to make a couple of test runs at some of the obstacles. The leveler, we got to drive up it to the end and slam it down one time, just to make sure our car wouldn't bottom out and make sure that it was going to work on all the different vehicles that were on the show. The shipping containers, we did get an opportunity to drive through them and make sure that our mirrors would fit, make sure that our bumper wouldn't destroy itself, and a couple of little things like we could do figure eights or donuts around some cones. We could do a coned section donut to do practice, but that's not really practice. You're not getting to feel what it's like to hit a real target. You're not getting to see the visual setup cues for some of that stuff. The Rockford turn, same thing. We got to do a couple opportunities of doing the reverse, but it was just with cones. It wasn't at night, it wasn't with the lights, it wasn't with the cameras in your face, it wasn't a proper practice session. But more importantly, in my opinion, was getting from each obstacle. There's a big gap of city streets that you have to drive through as fast as you can, quite frankly. And you saw I was hauling ass and I was trying to drift through every single corner. I was just having a blast with it. But drifting on a car that is completely changed from when I usually drive it. This is now set up for hyperdrive. The ride height, the suspension, the alignment, the tires, all of it was different. And then the surface change especially. There was railroad tracks, there was manhole covers, there was the little city reflectors, there was all kinds of stuff. It went from concrete to tarmac, there was some gravel roads, there was wet, there was dry, you name it, it was on there. And it even mattered who went before you. If a competitor drug gravel or water onto a particular corner, I had no ability to see that or make notes or anticipate that. It was all reactionary. So driving this course with no practice was so unbelievably difficult. And hats off to everyone. You guys driving from the seat of your couch at home, you get to yell at the screen and be like, oh, I could have done that. And the truth is, yeah, some of you could have done it, sure. But the first try with all the pressures on, when the cameras and lights are in your face at night on a car you've barely driven, on a course you've never practiced, the pressure was immense and the difficulty was at an all-time high. So every single driver really went through the ringer, and my hat's off to everyone for being able to pull off what you did. It was nuts. Whew. Okay, how about damages? Now let's talk about that. Part of my contract with Netflix was that I am responsible for any and all damage to my own vehicle. And that is no joke. They didn't give me any money before, they didn't give me any money after. Everything I had to do on my car was 100% on me. And if you know me, I'm not a rich guy. I've got, a couple jobs that I have to work really hard at to produce enough cash to pay my bills and go racing as many times as I can. And I don't have a lot of money or a big savings account or a trust fund or anything like that that can help me. So, after the first race, I had to go to the auto parts store the next morning, and I had to go spend several $100s getting enough parts to kind of fix my car just to make the next race. And basically every single race there was something on my car to fix, as well as the other competitors. And then if you have watched most of the season, spoiler alert, I had a big crash, and that was major. That definitely bent up a lot of stuff on my car. Some very expensive parts were completely destroyed and damaged, and that all fell on me. So I am gonna make a full video talking about how to repair. I repaired the car. I did repair the car. I am still continuing to compete and race the car and drift the car. In fact, I just won Lone Star Drift round 1 last weekend with it, and I'm pretty proud of that. And then I went to Grid Life, just got back from Grid Life yesterday, and now I'm filming this video for you. So I'm continuing to drive the car. It is fixed. I was able to get it all straight and back together, but it certainly took a lot of work to do that. And it was all on me, which sucked. All right, next question is, what's my favorite car on the show? Besides mine, of course, is Aaron Parker's. His FD was gorgeous. I mean, that thing is beautiful. It is built by him, by hand, which I have a very big appreciation for because I do the same on my car. And he has spared no expense. He's put a ton of thought into the design of that vehicle and how everything comes together, and it came out absolutely gorgeous. He's got a sequential transmission, which I would give my left nut for. He's got a rotary that runs and makes 500 horsepower, which is incredible. He's got one of the best looking cars I've ever seen. It's low, it's fast, it's got a fantastic livery, it's got a great color scheme. He's got, excellent wheel fitment. He's got fireballs shooting out the tail of that thing. I mean, there's nothing about that car I don't absolutely love. So props to you, Aaron. Beautiful car, and that is my favorite car from the show. If I could drive any other cars, I would have wanted to drive that one. If I could own any other car, I would want to own that one. If I could crash any car, I would not want to crash that one, but I would do it if it was the opportunity for me to drive it. So yeah, that was definitely the one. And that gets us into our competitors. The other competitors were all really incredible, I must say. There were some tension and some drama from the show, and some of that was real, some of it was a little bit embellished, I will say. But, every single person, we really banded together, and they didn't really show a good job of us really helping each other out. For example, Tyree, he blew a motor halfway through one of his sessions. I think it was practice, actually. He blew the motor, and everyone was in there throwing wrenches and yanking motors, and we were up all night and got the motor swapped. One person went and picked one up, one person went and got parts, one person was pulling this, one person was doing that. And everyone came together and fixed his car, and that was no different for every other competitor. So yeah, everyone banded together. It was really amazing to see all the competitors come together and just act like brothers and friends and help each other out. And everyone really put in a lot, except for maybe Omar. I don't think he knows how to turn a wrench, so he didn't help much. He was there for comedic relief, which he had plenty of. And I made really good friends with a lot of them too. XL, Francois, and I get along great. We are the same age, we do the same thing. He's like my French brother from another mother. He is a rally instructor, a drifter, self-made, works on his own stuff, and he has the same dreams and aspirations as me, and I think he's a little bit better driver than I am, unfortunately, for me. But, hats off to him, and, Aaron Parker and I are really close now. Omar is hilarious. He and I and Jordan have hung out a couple times. A couple of the other guys you haven't seen were some of the spotters and behind the scenes. I made friends with a lot of the producers. I made friends with the director, and I even taught him at the rally school. And lots of the people that came together for this, it was a big passion project for them too, which I think really helps with the show because no one's there for the wrong reason. We're all there because we love it, we're supportive of each other, and we want to see everyone do great things. That brings me to our hosts. The hosts were also amazing. I mean, those guys were super cool. Rutledge was the guy, the gearhead who knew about cars. That's why he was there. He was there to make sure everyone, understood what was going on. Bisbing is our MMA fighter and our juggernaut. He's there because He is excited, he's got a cool accent, and he is gonna bring in all the fans from another blood sport that, you know, MMA fighting, that happens to probably not watch much drifting, but now they will see it and see, okay, yeah, you don't have to punch each other in the face to have a good time and get your adrenaline going. So that's why he was there, and he was a super cool guy. I think he was a little bit exaggerating when he said that I had more balls than him going into a ring and getting his lights punched out. I don't think that's the case. I have a roll cage, I have a helmet. But either way, he was a super cool guy. Mike as well, coming from the football world, you know, he was just blown away. He's never seen anything like this. I tried to get him as a passenger in the car. He was not having that. But he was absolutely just blown away with how wild we were able to get in these cars. And so he was just, you know, pure excitement. And he has got that announcer voice, so he's definitely there. And then Lindsay was great for helping fill in with all the interviews. Same thing, she was just like, this is absolutely next level. You know, she's coming from other daytime TV and other sort of things that are much more low impact, low adrenaline. So it was really cool for her to get to experience that. And my personal favorite was when I made all of the hosts jump for my two-step button when I pulled underneath them at the start line there. That was hilarious. So that's just 10 questions. I don't want to drag on too long. I know you guys have a million questions. I wanted to make sure that I answered these 10 just to get everyone to understand the first couple little bits, so that when I see you in person at the next event or at a hyperdrive screening or on the streets or wherever, you don't have to ask me these same questions. You know, I can answer them for you on this video here. And then you can ask me interesting questions that I don't know. So please, don't feel scared to come and talk to me. Feel free to come up and say hey and ask me a question that I haven't heard, and I'm happy to answer it. I'm totally cool with being as transparent as I can. We do have some things that are under contract that I can't talk about. We have some things that I can't show. I'm gonna show you guys as much behind the scenes footage as I possibly can. I know that everyone's chomping at the bit to see what really happened, and there is a lot of it. I've got some GoPro stuff, I've got some cell phone stuff, I've got some pretty interesting stuff that, you know, I would love to share, but I'm working on getting it all approved, so bear with me on that. And stay tuned for my upcoming videos. I'm going to talk about prepping my car for hyperdrive. I got to do that at ArcLight with Aaron Kaufman and their team, and that was incredible, and it was really helpful. Thank you guys for letting me prep my car there. I did definitely some really important modifications, and then some other stuff that I just guessed would maybe work or maybe not. And then I'll also talk about fixing my car after the big crash, and I'm going to show you guys the process of straightening the frame and fixing the bodywork and all that sort of stuff. And you know, we'll talk about all that stuff, you know, how I got picked. I'm going to go into that in more depth, and you know, that sort of thing. A couple bonus questions I've got for you that I thought were pretty funny. Someone asked me, was someone else driving my car during the show, like a professional driver, to show all that stuff? And no, absolutely not. I was driving my car 100% of the time. I was doing all those stunts, or, you know, flubs, whichever one you're talking about. They were all me, and every other driver, same thing. They were all driving their own car and throughout the course by themselves. No stunt drivers, no pro drivers. It was just what it is. Someone else asked me, was the 180 against Jordan in the head-to-head intentional? And absolutely it was. It was not premeditated. I'll say that I came out of that corner in quite a drift, and I had the right end or right side loaded up. So I knew that I had to come and do a full donut around this one. And if I went in sideways in drift, I feared that I was going to clip the left corner against one of the light poles, and I would be penalized for that. And since the momentum of the car was already rotating around, I made in the moment a decision to snap the car full 180. And if you watch, you can see me check my mirrors and actually drive around as I'm rolling back around the light bar and then get out ahead like that. So it was spur of the moment. It was intentional. I don't know how I pulled that thing off. I tried really hard to make it look cool, and turned out pretty good. So I'm glad that you guys loved that move. It was accident turned wild. Yeah, it was fun. And then someone else, or lots of you have asked me how much money is in my car. I hate this question because it's depressing, and it's not easy to put just a dollar figure on it. You know, it's different if you would go to a shop and say, hey, I want you to build a car just like this. It will cost you one amount. It would be a different number if you were to build it yourself in a garage, and it would be a totally different number if you were to just buy one that was done and then paint it like my car. So my personal car that I have been building for the last 10 plus years of my life, the money I have into it, the easiest way to say it is all of it. The answer is honestly all of it. Some years I made, 50, 70, 80 grand a year. Some years I've made as little as 10,000 a year. And basically the way I work it is I earn a paycheck, I pay my bills, I make sure I have food, and then every other dime goes into the car. So I've also smashed the car quite a few times. I've gone through many paint jobs, many body kits, many wheels and clutches and motors and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, if you were to add all that up, the amount of money that has been put into my car is just absurd. I could have had a Ferrari or two by now, so that's really a silly question. But yeah, the answer is all of it. All of my money always goes 100% into the car and racing, because that's my passion, that's what I love, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Please make sure that, you know, when you're joining me here, I'm going to be posting more. Subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it in the comments. Let me know what else you'd like to know and what other questions I can answer. And I'm happy to answer them as best I can. And stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks.